Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. Hey everybody, I am your host, Tristan Johnson. If this is your first time here, might I recommend you check out my entire streaming schedule. I stream 3 times a week. You can find my work on, this is all Eastern Standard Time, Monday afternoons at noon. I do the Monday Discourse from 12 to 2 with Mia Mulder, who needs no introduction. Then tonight, oh yeah, and on the Monday Discourse, we talk about things that are going on the internet, we shoot the shit, we ace some cues, and enjoy our evening. Or our afternoons, I should say. Tuesday nights, what you're watching right now is Step Back Tonight, runs from 7 to 10, where try to keep it a chill, relaxing time where, we can talk about cool stuff, and usually I go on some sort of weird rant. And Fridays, from 2 to 5, I run a show called The Reactor, where people submit links to me via the Step Back Discord server, and I just suck them all up into a big thing, and we watch stuff together. It's a pretty fun time. Good way to spend a Friday afternoon if you don't have anything else to do. I go by he, him pronouns. If you want to find my YouTube work, you can go to stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. Or if you're feeling extra feisty, you can check out TristanPEJ on Twitter. And this is my last stream during September. So if you have Amazon Prime, this is a great time to, all times are great, but as an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get 1 free subscription every month to help an independent Twitch creator. And it really helps them, function. And if you choose Step Back, you will help me with, living expenses and stuff. So please, it is very much appreciated. I have to keep this stream as something that I can justify sinking 8 hours of work a week into, so otherwise I'll have to find other ways of employment. And if you do plan on spending a little bit of cash on a Twitch subscription, this is September. This is my last stream during September, where streams are subscriptions are discounted. Subscriptions are discounted, and that also means that all of the money goes towards the creator. My latest video for Step Back is on Emma Goldman. Very fun video. Highly recommend you check it out. And my latest video on Tristan Won't Shut Up was about the colonization of Mars. As for my next video, Step Back, I'm doing a video on doing a sequel. I'm doing the finish of Dinesh D'Souza. I'm doing Dinesh D'Souza Endgame. And for my next Tristan Won't Shut Up video, I'm doing something on planned economies and why they are good. I was just editing it today. Hopefully I can finish it in, tonight after the stream is over. And then I can get it up for patrons and before I go to bed and release it to everybody else tomorrow. That's the hope. We'll see how it goes. Other than that, how's everybody's week been? I kind of had a extra long weekend because I usually work on Sundays, but I had a RPG game that I have only once a month on that Sunday, so now I had sort of like a extended weekend, which I don't normally get to do, so I'm very well relaxed and ready to hit the ground running. Today was a very busy day work-wise, hence why it's not done yet. I have to work after the stream is done, and this stream is also work, so I have multiple. I have work from 10:30 until 11 p.m. Like I do on my work days. All right. Let's see what's going on in chat land. Hello, everyone. Start the movie. How come Lance from the Source can stream the debate, but you can't? The debate can be watched for free on YouTube. I don't know. Last time, like the last place that I was in, the last time I streamed a debate, it got taken down. So I don't know what Lance is doing. Maybe he's doing something special to make sure that his streaming of the stream is not being wrecked. But maybe I should just go and ask him right now, real quick. Because so that is a thing that is on the thing, is that the presidential debate is tonight, and it starts right at the beginning of the last hour of the stream, which last time I tried to stream a debate and comment on it, my channel got taken down for 3 days on Twitch. So I'm a little concerned about that happening again. So that's like I don't know. We'll see what happens. See what everyone else is doing. Maybe. But I also don't want to stream for 2 straight hours at 9 o'clock. And cutting off a debate mid-debate also seems a little weird. Hey, you're right. We'll see what happens. It's a long night. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen between now and the end of this 3-hour stream. All right. Power is power. You like that quote, but doesn't what happened to Cersei at the end kind of demonstrate that thinking you can just do whatever and rely on existing power structures to hold up your authority in perpetuity is bad thinking? Like, suppose the Democrats do end up packing the court. Won't that show that Mitch was wrong to think that he would achieve his aims by abusing power without consequence? Here's the thing, though. Like, he knows. Democrats know where their bread is buttered. So they're totally not, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, the thing is that this is one of those situations where Mitch McConnell realizes that, but the Democrats don't. And I've been saying on Twitter a lot, I had no idea why I make this metaphor, but the Democrats act like those soccer teams that try to play up their injuries and have a strategy focused around trying to get the opposite team red cards so that they get penalty shots. But they don't realize is that there is no ref. There is no referee. So it just kind of keeps going that way. Mitch McConnell realized that rules and norms were literally just norms. They were just things that were there because of politeness. And if you completely ignore that, then you could just do a lot. You could do a lot more than you thought you could. And the Democrats seem to think that they want to maintain the structures of power, and that these structures of power are legitimate, and that these norms are, good and important. And they are like, you can't do that. You're breaking the rules. Well, that doesn't actually. Yeah, I mean, Cersei ends up getting crushed by like a tower or whatever, but I don't know. I still say that even if Mitch McConnell gets boosted out of office, or the courts get packed or something, that Mitch McConnell walks away having done a lot of the conservatives' desired stuff, and plus, all the Republicans would have to do is say, hey, you can't pack the court. That goes against the norms. And Democrats, because they're so sensitive to that, they will actually, they might actually listen. So, I don't know. Hello, Kevin Logan. Nice to see you here. Yesterday you said if cavemen really still existed, you'd want to give them self-determination. Can you give self-determination to beings who are mentally incapable of understanding the world like we do? Yes. Thank you, Scorpia666. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Give them space and give them a safe place to live. Like, for example, what we could talk about, like whales, right? Whales are don't really understand the world like we do, but they are still very intelligent creatures. And if we were playing ethically, we would be treating them, we'd be treating them like they were like giving them their self-determination to live life as they see fit, which is, you know, not destroying their ecosystem and killing them. Just like how if they're cavemen today, I'd want to give them, yeah, they would love them to have their own. Like another example that could come up here is uncontacted tribes. In places like Brazil, there are groups of people who are still living basically in the Neolithic age, and we have a pretty strong like policy of don't interfere with them, don't fuck them up, let them live their life, give them their space. And Bolsonaro is sort of listening to that less and less, but this is like, that's the right policy, I think. So I don't know. Let's see. Do you think Harry Turtledove is a racist or a clueless boomer who doesn't think through the implications of his books? I definitely think the latter. But I mean, I don't know, like, using racist as a snarl word, like, I think that I'm very much learning that we should probably start using racist more as an adjective than a noun. Just because, like, racist is a thing that belongs to, like, ideas and actions, not so much like a simple label for a person, if that makes sense. Because lots of people, most people, have racist ideas. But we get so hung up on defensive language about calling people, quote, a racist, that that really, like, locks down productive conversations about, like, you know, how do we fight bigotry? How do we make a society that is just? How do we implement anti-racist policies? And you have to realize that, you know, this guy is not a racist. This guy has racist ideas, and that you should try and counter those ideas with anti-racist ideas, because we've kind of turned racist as just a noun to say bad person who should be dismissed. And so if you call somebody that, they're gonna like they're gonna react and be defensive, and that's how you can end up with people who say they're not racist while being in the Ku Klux Klan. So in what ways has learning Python improved your work? I haven't been learning like new stuff lately. Right now, the thing I'm learning is a thing for making D&D NPCs, just so that I can, you know, play around with it a little bit. I haven't like gotten back into like taking classes and learning new stuff yet. I should, but it's not exactly a thing that's like high on my list of things to do, and I work a lot. I like, you know, probably like between streaming and work, I probably like put in like, you know, 60, 70 hours of work a week, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. Like at least like 10, 12-hour days, at least 4 days a week, or 3 days a week, and maybe a fourth day, a regular 8-hour day. So the time when I'm not doing that stuff, I'm very like, I'm also doing work. So it's like, this is life. This is the life I chose to lead. But it means I haven't had much time to learn Python. So that means that I haven't gotten much past, like, you know, really basic computing stuff, which right now I'm just making an NPC generator that is like all randomized. Once it's done, so once I finish that, my plan is to actually make a I plan to make myself the same NPC generator, but I can make choices along the way, including the choice to pick at random, so that I can like make not only NPCs I want, but like custom NPCs that are like, you know, something that I need for a specific situation. But I haven't gotten that far yet. But that'll be my like next project. So that's where I'm at now. I haven't really figured out how to use it for step back or anything like that, because I don't really know how I would use that. Um, so you just finished Enterprise. What did you think of the Mirror Universe episode where they recreated all the sets in the 1960s? I thought that was fun. I always find like Mirror Universe Star Trek episodes are fun, and they're always like they're basically like, for me it seems like it's a way for long running TV shows where you put in a lot of episodes in a season for actors to have like a little bit more fun, and I feel like that Mirror Universe two-parter was really fun. It's weird that it was like the last. Well, it wasn't the last. The last was with Space Hitler, but it was one of the last things they did on the show was just this like completely not in universe Mirror Universe two-parter, which I thought was a little strange. But a lot of the decisions that made that show were strange. What do you think about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan? It's tale as old as time. There's a country where the borders are in one country, but the people who live there are ethnically closer to a different country, and it results in border friction. And after, centuries of border friction, it's erupted into violence yet again. This is the first time it's erupted into violence since, like the 2000s, I think, or something like that, like 2006. But, like, I don't know, man. It's almost as if borders are dumb and we shouldn't have them. But it's like the same shit that happened in, like, the Alsace-Lorraine region between France and Germany, where everyone who lives there is ethnically German but speak French. And so both countries sort of make a claim to the region because also claiming land makes you powerful. I think it doesn't hurt also that the Alsace-Lorraine region has a lot of like good resources and stuff too. But I don't know. It's definitely a conflict with a long and storied history that steeps back into a lot of historical trends and forces throughout the past. Not even counting the fact that there's like a religious divide between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's all sorts of stuff. Who do you think is going to who do you think is going to say the most nonsense in the debate tonight? Hashtag Pony Soldier. I'm actually thinking that, jokes aside about like the drug testing and stuff like that, I do think that both of them are going to be completely shot full of drugs. And besides like a few weird lines, like I don't expect to see. I expect this debate to be more boring than people are anticipating it to be. And when it does happen, you're going to have a few funny lines, but like I don't think you're going to see the Joe Biden who forgets where he is and doesn't know how to finish sentences. You're going to have that Joe Biden who's hopped up on Adderall that showed up at that debate against Bernie Sanders. The only debate between just the two of them. Same with Trump. He's going to be very sniffly while also saying a bunch of stuff. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'll probably be following it on Twitter unless somebody sends me a thingy. Unless I find out some way to stream it without getting kicked off Twitch again. But yeah, I'm not super anticipating any fireworks at this debate. I imagine both of them are trying to be as boring as possible. Cause like I guess like we could do a little stronger piece about the analysis about where the campaign is at this point. But basically, Joe Biden is sort of in a should be keeping himself in a holding pattern because he doesn't need to do anything to win this election. He's ahead. He's in not a comfortable lead, but he is in a pretty good lead for this close or for like this far out of the election. And pending something absolutely bananas happening against Biden, this looks like a pretty good election for at least winning the votes. For all the things that you need to campaign to do, he's already done it. If the campaign's counted fairly, it's pretty likely he'll win. But because the Donald Trump factor has resulted in him more or less scaring everybody with the specter of Donald Trump. He has pretty much terrified everybody to the left of Attila the Hun to vote for him, and so that means that he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to promise anything. He doesn't have that many constituents he has to wrap up. He just because what's it called? We've all been vote shamed and browbeaten to basically give in, because this is going to be the most important election in American history until the next most important election in American history, where we have to swallow our pride and vote Democrat anyway in 2024, and then in 2028, and then in 2032, and that'll just keep happening forever when the next Trump goes through. So that's I don't like what's it called, the same pattern that happens every presidential election's happening. Trump might do something a little bit wacky this time though, because right now Donald Trump is in a bad position. You can tell that he's not he's in a pretty bad mental state from the way that he's reacting to things. You can tell that, and also because polls really don't look good for him. So he needs to do something big in order to shake up the race in a big way, and I don't know what that's gonna be. But so if who's gonna say the most nonsense? They're both going to say a lot of words to say nothing at all, because this election is one of those elections where the less said they both decide that the less said about policy the better. They both think that this election will work better if it's a referendum on Donald Trump, and I don't know if that's a winning bet for Trump right now. Who is Lance? New sub here. Lance is the host. Is the host of the YouTube channel The Surfs and Twitch channel. Is Canada having an election in October? Any projections? It doesn't look like it. There was a coronavirus support package that was passed through a couple days ago, which the NDP signed on to make it pass. So basically, at this point, there's probably not going to be an election this year in Canada, so we're going to be okay. Whether or not, I don't know. What's it called? If there is no election, then if nothing is called, then the next election is going to be 2023. But something makes me highly doubt that we're going to make it all the way to 2023 without the government collapsing and having to have an election, because we're in a minority government right now, and Justin Trudeau sucks. So we'll see what comes out of that. But it'd be very surprising if we make it all the way to 2023 without vote of non-confidence going through. Homo erectus most likely had proto-language. They might have had the ability to produce fire, but most species apart from Homo sapiens lacked innovation in complex language. Although, apparently they think that dolphins might have complex language, which is interesting. Alright. So you think Mitch McConnell will end up buried in rubble when AOC gets a dragon to burn his house? I don't know. Something makes me think that Mitch McConnell is going to... he's going to either die in office or he's going to retire, and all Democrats will be able to say is how much he was a respected statesman and everybody thought he was great. Then he will go home and he'll fucking die, and then historians will write about how bad he was and how much damage he did to America, and leftists on Twitter will laugh about will talk about how bad he was and how he destroyed American politics. But every Democratic politician will be like, he might have banned abortion and what's it called? he might have gotten abortion banned, and he might have fucked up America for potentially the rest of our lives, and possibly forever. He might have ended America to pass a far right wing agenda, but that doesn't mean we can't be. What's it called? That doesn't mean we can't be friendly with him and cordial. And so you'll hear Joe Biden and stuff talking about how much they like Mitch McConnell and they liked him as a person and blah, 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 blah. Disney's laying off 28,000 workers. Holy shit. We should treat them like the Federation should. However, we did fuck Neanderthals. So we treated them like what's it called? Like Captain Kirkwood. Yeah. The other day, Kev came out and said he supports marginalized groups in the U.S. arming themselves, and Christie was like, "But guns only escalate the violence and make the cops more likely to fire." What should we say to libs who are still in that mindset? I mean, I don't know. I think Kevin Logan's actually, I don't know if he's still here, but I'm sure he might have more to say to that. But I have very much, like, my esteem of Dr. Christy Winters has gone down significantly in the last few years, to the point where I would basically say that she is now a conservative. Basically, like, in my mind, like, in a German sense, like pretty close to the far right. Not in like the Nazi sense, but in the sense of like there's no like all of the stuff that she said about being like a progressive, about actually believing in like, you know, human rights and social equality and economic justice, seems to be a fig leaf, because she always supports the most right-wing Democrat that can be chosen. Either way, so like I don't know if there's much saving Christy Winters at this point. But the thing I would say about the guns thing is, like, the thing is, it's really hard to get libs on board with guns. Obviously, this is like a thing that even Kelly still gets mad at me about. So the idea that like guns only escalate the violence and make the cops more likely to fire. Well, like, what's it called? The cops are already firing for people, are firing, like, what's it called? We've learned now that minorities, like, they can't prevent themselves from police thinking that they have a gun when, like, they're doing crimes like being asleep in their bedroom. When, like, when, like, plainclothes no-knock raid happens on their house and they just get fucking assassinated by a bunch of white C students from high school. So, like, you say, like, what's it called? Looking good today, Tristan. Thank you. I like this shirt a lot. And I feel like I'm having a good hair. I feel like my hair is, like, right at the right place of growth today, which makes me happy. So basically I would say is that people of color at this point are, like, minorities in general, actually, because I would probably say that LGBTQ plus people also should be arming themselves. Because at this point, the police will think that you're a murderer for having a wallet. Like, they have openly made their declaration that they are going to kill poor people, or kill anybody that they can. They are effectively the Gestapo at this point. So I would say, like, they can't really ratchet up the violence and make it more likely that police are going to fire, because it doesn't seem like they can have a much higher firing rate at this point. They shoot people for, like, next to no reason at all. So at this point, it really comes down to whether or not you think that that is a legitimate institution. And if you can realize that that police officers are nothing but violent enforcers of state authority, then maybe come to the point that realizing state authority might not be a thing that we should be happy about. And then you realize, like, oh, this isn't like in my mind, this is almost necessary. This is self-defense, because we've already learned that they're already murdering people. Thank you, following Dr. Arcturus. Thank you for following. Welcome to our gang. At this point, the police have already declared war on people of color. They are basically murdering them on sight. They have, like in the case of what happened in Kenosha a few weeks ago. We've already seen that they collaborate with white supremacists to look the other way while they murder people of color and while they murder protesters. It's already going to be what's it called? Florida is just about to pass a law that is going to make it legal to murder people with your cars if you can just flimsily say that you were trying to escape protesters. So, war's already been declared whether you like it or not. At this point, it's a question about whether you are going to be armed for self-defense or if you're just going to let them kill you. That is the point we are at right now. There's really no, what's it called? That's the point. So I don't know how to fight that mindset, because that mindset involves, still just basically assuming that the state is legitimate and that the police have any, they have any agenda besides the suppression through murder of people of color and other minorities. Which, I can't think of any other purpose for the police at this point. They don't solve crimes. They basically do nothing about rape. They do nothing about, they barely try to solve murders. 40% of murders or something like that. They do literally nothing. And then the other 60%, very few of, I think something only a third of murders get solved. And those that get solved are typically because, the person who did it is right there at the time. They don't solve crimes. They don't get your stolen car back. They don't catch the person who stole your wallet. They don't do anything except the brutal, violent suppression of people who are of a lower order of citizenship. So, yeah. Suppose humans laid eggs. Would destroying unhatched eggs be wrong? Basically, how would the ethics of abortion change if a mother's bodily autonomy wasn't an issue? Would change completely. Because the argument, the entire argument's about bodily autonomy. If you laid an egg and then you didn't want to have a baby, you can give the egg to somebody. You are under no obligation to take care of a child once you have it. Theoretically, you can carry a child to term and give it over to the adoption system. That already exists. But the abortion question is about whether or not people who have wombs have ownership over their own body. What's it called? Conservatives think that they don't. They don't think women own themselves. That they are properties of the state, of men, of something. I don't know. But it's the best of the best. And so yeah, I think that it would definitely be a crime to smash a human egg in that situation. But that's not the question at hand, obviously, because this is more the question of hey, if you plus also I think if you what's it called? If a fetus is gestated to the point where you're actually laying an egg, I think that it's significantly far along at that point. But is someone without a uterus talking about uterus stuff? A little bit. I'm trying to understand things. I'm hopefully doing. I hope I didn't cross a line. I'm just trying to say that abortion is an issue about bodily autonomy. It's what's it called? Pregnancy puts people at risk. It is dangerous to people's health. And to say that you are obligated by the state to like say if some I think that the best argument is the one that somebody showed about like how if you have like a rare if there's somebody with a rare disease and their kidneys have shut down and they need your kidney, only your kidney, it's the only one that works, they need one of them to survive, and the surgery, like removing a kidney, is dangerous and it can hurt people. You can die. Should the state, with the use of violence, force you to donate your kidney? And I would say no. The state should not be able to force you to donate your kidney. And that is in the case of an actual person, not a potential person. See what I mean? Either way, yeah, like that's why, like, yeah, the abortion discussion is one about bodily autonomy and ownership of one's own body. And so, yeah, if in this weird situation that humans laid eggs, that would definitely what's it called? Humans laid if we had a situation where humans could lay eggs, the conversation would change immensely. Yesterday, Mia said getting Florida to send faithless electors would be him breaking the rules. Would it be that, or would it just be the most egregious example of him taking advantage of the fact that the founders just didn't design the American government very well? It would, yeah. I think that what Mia was saying is essentially right. Like it'd be breaking a norm that hasn't been broken yet, I don't think. And it's like the last case of like showing how much of American politics is Calvin Ball and how much of it was functioning just on listening to norms. And so I do think that maybe what Mia was trying to get to is that to a lot of people, that blatant a violation of norms for the sheer to change a presidential election might be the one norm too far that might set people over the edge. I don't think so. We saw basically the Republicans steal an election in 2000, and the Democrats just went. The Democrats came down to the argument that it's more important that Americans have faith in the system than the Democrats win this election, and so they backed off, which is a terrible precedent to set. But I think that that the Democrats would likely do something very similar. Who knows though? Maybe people hate Trump a lot more than they hated George Bush in 2000. So. Do you think the 10 to 12 hour days are a sustainable amount of work to do? I kind of changed things up recently, so now my work week is condensed, but it's doable. Like, luckily I have one of those jobs where it doesn't even feel like I'm working on work days. But essentially I have a schedule where I have days that are considered work days, which are days where I can be given more work. Where I can start new tasks and stuff. And then I have sort of off days, which are like my spillover days. At this point, I think like there's a lot of stuff that I do that is technically work that doesn't really take a lot of energy. Like researching is work, writing is work, editing videos is work. But like, for example, streaming is less work. It less feels like work. It is work, but it doesn't feel like it as much. And I don't mind doing long periods of work. I have never had issues with spending 12 hours working on something. But like, I will say that like there are things that could burn me out that I don't do. Like for one, unless there is some extremely strong reason to do so. I don't work to an extent that I lose sleep. Like, unless I have, like, a very firm deadline that there will be very bad things that happen if I don't get it done, I don't pull, like, I stopped pulling all-nighters. I used to do that. I used to do those kind of before, probably the last all-nighter I did was, like, back in, like, March, I think. I've stopped doing those. So I will go to bed at my regular bedtime, even if I'm working my entire time that I'm awake. I tend to take fairly generous breaks. Like, I go for, like, probably like a half-hour, 45-minute walk in the morning, and I take about 45 minutes to an hour off for lunch. So that's fine. And if I come to the end of if I come to the end of the line and something that I wanted to get done tonight isn't done, at 11 o'clock I go to bed. Doesn't matter if the thing I get done is done or not, unless it is a thing that, like, I'll be in breach of contract if I don't finish it before I go to bed tonight. So, it feels sustainable to me. I'm sleeping enough. I'm getting enough time, and also I have days. I have, like, days where I get plenty of time to myself to, like, you know, relax and be off. So I'm okay. How much do I pay in taxes? Is it more than $750? No. I don't make enough money to pay taxes at this point. Hey, Lizardman85, thank you for following and welcome to the Orc Gang. I get paid by my taxes because I haven't gotten myself up to the tax bracket where they start charging you taxes. Because being a YouTuber is not super lucrative. I just finished playing Among Us. Oh, I've heard of that game. Everyone's talking about it right now. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm curious about it. Did you know that if Total War Warhammer 2 has a cheat mode where I can buy as many units of any class I want? I want to get it. I don't have any. I want to get it as long as I don't have to grind an Iron Hand mode. Oh, this is not a question for me. I've never played such a game. Oh, let's see. Let's see. What did you think the Make Earth Great Again two-parter? Maybe this is me being a class reductionist, but I find it somewhat hard to believe that kind of xenophobia would exist post-scarcity. Yeah, that's probably true. Although, they don't necessarily... Like, the thing is, like, in Enterprise specifically, they make a couple references that say that money might actually still exist at that point, at that early point. But either way, if it is a post-scarcity economy, even in the 22nd century, the two-parter I thought was pretty good at the end. Very on the nose, and I feel like it would have been a better series finale than the actual series finale we got. Because it was about, like, sort of the values that established the Federation. That the Federation's about plurality and inclusiveness. And I would have liked if that was how the show ended, rather than just some random other episode that was bad and said nothing about what Enterprise is supposed to be about. If you make $18K a year, you pay more than $750. I don't. What's it called? I don't live in America. Taxes are different here, I think. My grandfather spent the war on a battleship shipping to the USSR, protecting shipping to the USSR. How do you feel with the ethics of giving material aids to Stalin's regime so they could keep so they'll keep fighting the Nazis? It's fine. It was World War II. They were allies. It was a Lend-Lease program. I don't see the problem. I mean, like, it was like, you know, supporting Stalin. During World War II, there was no real good side like, what's it called? Everybody was, I mean, there was no good side, but there was one evil side. And so, yeah, defeating fascism definitely takes precedence above all else, doesn't it? Did you hear that Spain is banning yachts around certain parts of their coast after orcas attacked a boat? Fuck yeah. Fuck yachts. I'm on Team Orca. Yesterday I got retweeted by Yellow Vest Exposed with a thread I made talking about Jagmeet Singh being threatened by a far-right goon in front of Parliament. Awesome. Yeah, Yellow Vest Exposed is pretty great. I'm friends with them. They collaborated with one of my videos. They collaborated with me. I got some information from them for one of my videos on the Canadian far right, and we've sort of kept in touch ever since. Why did Marx want to get rid of the nuclear family? Like, what did he mean? I don't know. I don't know where Marx said that and what his reasoning was. Who are your favorite historical figures other than Emma Goldman? Shit. I got tricked. This is my second... this is the second hardest question to answer. Ooh. It's a tough call. It really is. I definitely like John Brown. I plan on making a video about him at some point in the future. So I guess I'll say John Brown, who was an anti-slavery extremist in the mid-19th century, who like killed slave owners with a broadsword and snuck in Kansas, and then went to Virginia to arm the slaves to start a slave revolt. When he was cornered by like police or federal troops or whatever, he he fought them back with a broadsword, and then when he was executed, his final words basically were like the ultimate condemnation of America and slavery and like what happened. And let me just find John Brown's last words, because they were the most like perfect like what's it called like foreshadowing of the Civil War. Yeah, I believe that I have. Let's see, where is his John Brown? Let's see, where's the thing I'm looking for? Come on, New York, Washington Post, stop. Okay. John Brown's last words. I'm trying to look for that. I, John Brown, am quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land can never be purged away but with blood. That is the last words of John Brown before he was executed. And it's like, yeah, Civil War. I wanted to make a video called, that's going to be called John Brown, History's Greatest Chad. That's high on my list of videos to make at some point. Oh, boy. I mainly just knew her from the H-bomb video about Sargon's petition, so I was disappointed that she became the worst kind of liberal. Yeah. If the U.S. does break up, won't that also be an example of Mitch failing to achieve his aims by abusing his power? He doesn't want the U.S. to break up. He wants to turn it into a right-wing police state. I suppose. But, I don't know. I don't think he's going to feel any comeuppance. He's so old that he's just going to leave office and just die, and nothing bad will happen to him. He's going to die in his sleep surrounded by family, and every major newspaper is going to write obituaries about how great he was. And people are going to say that it's rude to speak ill of the dead once you point out that he was one of the greatest monsters of the 21st century. I kind of want to make a video about Mitch McConnell, because he is one of the worst people. He is one of the worst people alive today. and has done more damage to America than even Donald Trump, I would say. Do you support legalizing the self-defense firearms in countries where it's banned? I mean, yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm very disinterested in like the state giving you permission to have weapons. Like, I don't particularly care what the state thinks is the thing, because the state know what the weapons are for protecting you against. God, in Minecraft. How do you feel about schools trying to make kids dance? There was this one term in middle school where we had to dance. I think they meant it as a way for us to express ourselves, but I was embarrassed and refused to take part. I wish they'd let me opt out, but as a general rule, I don't think young kids should get to opt out of classes they don't like. I don't know. Like, the thing about dance specifically is that it is a form of exercise and a form of artistic expression that is so feminine coded that I kind of think it's good to force boys to do it, because we like there needs to be the sort of like feminine coding of it needs to be broken. And it's one of those things that a lot of boys probably won't try unless forced to, and then they might like it. Thank you, Aquatic Video Gaming. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Thank you. Depend, like, as long as you're capable of dancing, I suppose. Some more like issues to deal with, like it's not like swim class or anything like that, where there's a lot of other stuff that could be involved that you could I could see people wanting to opt out of swim class. That makes a lot more sense to me for, various social reasons. But dance? I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't started doing tit-for-tat killings in the U.S. I know Europe, that was common with the Troubles. I mean, I'm not surprised that hasn't happened, because, like, that's the thing about America, is that the right murders and the left doesn't. And the right's going to keep killing people, and liberals are going to keep, like, the right is going to keep killing people of color and people who protest, and the left and liberals or whatever are going to chastise protesters for being too loud or for setting a Wendy's on fire. So, like, the right kills the left, and the centrists chastise the left for not protesting with upward decorum while they're getting killed. Yes, Bjorn, but I would please stress continued training. Oh yeah, what's it called? If you have a gun and you don't respect the power of what you have, that is bad. Like, you should definitely if you're gonna have a gun, it would be extremely bad to not be trained, like, to learn how to use it and use it properly and safely, and to store it safely, because there's definitely, like, a big issue in gun culture of people who have weapons that are designed to kill people, but for some reason don't learn how to safely use these weapons they have. And that is fucked up, and that is not a thing that should be happening. If humans laid eggs, I guarantee a human omelet would be a thing. Yeah, it'd be like a thing we used to do, but we don't do anymore. But like, there's like people who think it's kinky or something. Should we really using ownership terminology when talking about bodily autonomy? Because the libertarians hear that and say, well, if I own myself, why can't I sell myself into slavery? I guess, although I should say bodily autonomy is, like, can you sell yourself into slavery? No, because of there's other reasons besides your ownership of yourself that has to do with why slavery is bad. Because if there's one thing is that you might own yourself, but you yourself are not property. Humans are not, like, that's a distinction. Human beings are not property. And you can make that argument both for, what's it called? For protecting people with uteruses' right to have control over their own body, because nobody owns their body except for themselves, and it's really not possible for another person to own your body, which means that it is it's not an object to be sold. It is what's it called? Is an intangible. I think I'm trying to remember what this thing is called, but like it isn't that you are an intangible thing, which means that it's not. It's like trying to sell like the sun. It's like not a thing that I don't know. There's something I'm trying. There's a point. A point was attempted to be made. It did not go well. But there is a minutia point to this that explains why, and also there's also the corrosive effect that just a society that practices slavery has on just the people who live in it and the people it victimizes. So yeah. Do you think people should be able to legally sell their non-vital organs? I don't know. I think like, I mean, in theory, like the thing is, you can't really say that there's like, the thing is like, in theory, sure, but we don't live in a period, like the fact that money is involved means that you can't really guarantee that it's a what's it called? A non-coercive thing. Like, the fact that money plays a role in it is the problem. Probably, yeah. So like, that's the big deal. Because that involves economic forces that really take away your ability to completely sideline coercion as part of the exchange. If Trump ends up winning the elections, what do you think of the reasons for it? Do you think maybe rigged? Do you consider people that voted for him misinformed or evil? If Trump wins the election this time, it'll probably be due to a handful of things. Either a big polling error, because right now the polling is pretty stabilized. Like, what I mean by that is, like, the polls haven't moved all that much in the last few weeks, which is making people think, which is basically leading to the idea that people in general have pretty much decided how they're going to vote at this point, and that there are very few people who are undecided anymore. And so if Trump wins the election, there was either a massive polling error, or it'll be something fucked up with the Electoral College. There are some states where if there was a, reasonably big polling error, it could result in a Trump victory in the Electoral College, but not the popular vote. Pretty much all polls show that Trump winning the popular vote is very, very unlikely, like under 10% likely. All of the situations in which he wins the election have to do with him winning the Electoral College again, which he could do. Theoretically. And it really depends also on your definition of rigging. Like, there's so many things that could happen that will be anti-democratic ways that the Republicans would win the election without winning the will of the people. Like, one, the Electoral College handing them a victory yet again. Two, racist boogaloo types, and like, alt-right people guarding election stations to basically intimidate anybody who is voting for anyone but Trump from leaving, which is very similar to like the kind of like armed bands that would protect the integrity of polling stations during, in the Jim Crow South. There's like, what's it called? There's the state sending faithless electors to go and vote in the Electoral College. There's doing legal bullshit to try and delegitimize mail-in votes, which is probably one of the more likely things that if like Trump were to win is how he would win, because the mail-in votes are going to be where a lot of Biden support comes from. And so in the days following the election, like I could easily see a situation where the polls close on election night, and the count of the like the ballots without the mail-in ballots, like just like the regular like election night ballots, show that Trump wins. And then over the next few days, as more and more of the mail-in ballots get called, the election starts to tighten, and eventually it looks like Biden's going to win. And then Trump tries to say that it's because of these harvested fake news mail-in votes. And then Barr and various Republican state governments will like use these and like use their argument that these are not legitimate votes as an excuse to either send faithless electors or to dismiss mail-in votes. And that would result in Trump winning. And I don't know what the Democrats respond in that situation, but that's like the most likely way I see Trump winning the election. When is the next Tristan Won't Shut Up video? I'm working on it tonight. I don't have that much work left to do on it, so my answer to you is, inshallah, tomorrow. After the stream is over, the stream ends at 10 o'clock. I have about an hour before I have to go to bed. I have to put in a little bit of the graphics, put in the music of the video, and then get it uploaded. Can I do that in an hour? Probably. That's not that hard to do. So, and then I'll have it up for patrons, and then I'll have it up for all of you guys tomorrow afternoon sometime. So, if everything goes according to plan, it'll be tomorrow. If it doesn't, then maybe Thursday. Werewolf button space. Yeah. Have you noticed that a lot of ASMR channels on YouTube are old white men speaking gently? Is this a sign that consumers of ASMR have suppressed family issues, maybe with grandparents? You know what? I thought that ASMR was primarily made up of attractive young women and that it was a sex thing. But the people who like ASMR are very, very, very insistent it is not a sex thing. So I honestly don't know much more about what it actually is. Because I guess if it is like this biological reaction to these sounds, I don't get them. Money does still exist. The Federation abolished in the 2190s. Oh, okay. I didn't think I was challenging you. I just was like, I don't know if enterprise is a post-scarcity economy, is what I'm saying. And even then, I think there's like a hint in the Star Trek universe, like in Picard, it's sort of implied that while it is a post scarcity economy, it's not like there's not a hierarchy. That there are there are people who live on fancy French vineyards and people who live in mobile homes in the desert. So it's not like a completely equal society. While you space vape. Most UFO and abduction stories and documentaries revolve around white people. Is it a sign that bored white people unknowingly join conspiracy theories as a way to get attention and find fulfillment? Oh man, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I want to read too much into it like that, but I think it's more that like I don't know. I'm trying to anything I think up. I don't have an answer to that. Any opinions on the upcoming debate tonight? I think I don't think it's going to be the crazy night that you think it is. I think if anything, Donald Trump is going to be trying to show that he is like trying to. Hey, Robot Monster 1953. Thank you for following and welcome to the York Gang. I think if there's anything, Trump is going to want to seem normal, because I think that if there's anything he's worried about is that there are a few people sort of in the suburbs who are uncomfortable with the erraticness of his leadership, and he needs to kind of sate their fears a little bit. But my guess is that he's going to be super drugged up, and so will Biden, and that both of them are going to be very highly trained, and that neither of them are going to say much of substance, but we'll see what happens. When I learned about John Brown in school, he was almost always definitely painted as a terrorist. I mean, he did, like, murder a bunch of people. Hey, the Jago, thank you for subscribing. Thank you. You get to see my dad dab there. Making this machine run. You put some cat food in a cat's belly, so much appreciated. I mean, like, John Brown did murder some people. He did it as part of the opposition to slavery, so it was good. But yeah, what's it called? We live in an age where we want all of our pro civil rights heroes to be the fake image of Martin Luther King that white people made him into. Hey, Herstein23, thank you for following. Welcome to our gang. And so, you know, a guy who like cleaved up a bunch of pro-slavery people in Kansas with a broadsword just doesn't seem like a person who gets lionized by the textbooks, you know? You said you want to make some Tristan Won't Shop videos about Star Trek. Like, what will they be about? The first video in the series is why you should watch Star Trek. And it's going to be kind of a personal essay about how Star Trek's been really good for me, for my mental health in this. Not only in, like, the darker times for anybody who, like, you know, for anybody who does sort of progressive leftist work, Sometimes it's very easy. It's good to need something like Star Trek to kind of restore your faith in humanity. And that Star Trek is like ultimately like a great series about like the power of diversity and about like the human spirit, but like in a good way, and like all that kind of stuff. And then I was going to do a series of videos, one for each Star Trek series, as we're rewatching them, and talk about each of the series and thoughts about different stuff that happened during it. Nothing with a definite thesis, but just like why you should watch Star Trek would be the first one, and then like why you should watch Deep Space Nine, why you should watch Enterprise, or why you shouldn't watch Enterprise. And then the next one will be it'll be either Discovery. Either I'm going to wait until Discovery is done, or why you should watch Discovery might be a thing, and then etc. etc. You know what I mean. So it'd be like me sort of musing and having thoughts about stuff, because I had a lot of random thoughts about the different shows as we watch them, and I'd like to put those in a essay. Thoughts about SRA. You're talking about the bill, the law that was proposed in India or whatever. I don't really know much about what's going on there right now. I know that there's big protests about it, but I don't know the details. I'm surprised there isn't a Behind the Bastards on Mitch McConnell. I am too, actually. I refused to dance because the other students were bullying me and I got detention for it. Okay, well, yeah, you being bullied is a pretty good reason to get out of doing dance. Did you see Singh in the Surfs? No. Did Jagmeet Singh go on the Surfs? Holy shit. Is that what happened? Does your federal government have a program to hire people with disabilities like ADHD or PTSD? Did you ever consider applying to such programs? As far as I know, we don't have one, but I also don't know very much. I imagine Matt Lipton might know, who is watching this stream right now. He might know if we have a program like that. America's entering the years of lead. Oof. Yeah, it's not that the left or most people who are marginalized and in danger want to kill. They're just being given no other choice but to be prepared. Yeah, because like right now, basically, in America, it is a crime punishable by death to be black. And like, a black person can be killed by cops for just existing. So, having a form of self-defense, I don't know. We even by forced you. I refused, and they were like, "Fine, we're just gonna make you class this every time, and we'll just fail you at the end of the term." Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. I'm not like, to me, in my mind, like, I mean, the school system as it is now is fucked up beyond all recognition. Like, if I were to say what happened in school, you'd have a lot more autonomy over what things you did do and didn't do. So, like, you know, you'd probably have to do some form of art and some form of exercise thing. And dance could be either of those. But I would rather give you autonomy over that. I don't really like forced curricula and stuff like that. The only thing that, like, you would absolutely have to learn from the schools is reading and basic math. Because other than that, like, that's like basic. That's all the things you can be guaranteed to know or guaranteed to expect from a high school student. So the rest of it should be learning that you yourself have a lot of you have to learn something. You can't just choose to not learn, but you have to, like, I would definitely be like, you have to learn while you're here. but you can learn much like, at your own pace and graduate when you're done. It doesn't matter what age you are, that kind of thing. Like, I don't like grades and stuff like that, like class cohorts and stuff like that. Like, it should all be pretty individualized. And then, once you finish, like, you take the classes that you want to, and once you're finished it all, you can then graduate and do whatever you want. Like the Facebook groups of people pointing guns at their own dicks. That's fucking annoying as hell. The first thing, like, I have never taken like a gun safety training course. I have had what I have done is I have used guns with friends teaching me how to use them safely, and like including one of my friends who was a drill instructor in the Canadian military, and like the first rule that they tell you in like firearm training whatever is never, ever, even if it's empty, even if the clip's not in there, even just never, ever, 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 ever point a gun at something that you are not willing to destroy. Never point a gun at a person, even if it's empty, even if there's no bullets in it. And never do that. Because you'll be surprised by how many people have died because they thought that there were no bullets in a gun, but there was one in the chamber. Like, the people pointing guns at their dicks are like, oh my god, it's like one of the worst things. And it's like literally like a straight up hatred for the concept of firearm safety. Sorry if you've been asked this recently. I'm a week or two behind on your streams. Your Mars video changed my mind on colonization, but what are your thoughts on asteroid mining? It seems like it would be a good alternative to blowing up mountains and strip mining the Earth for necessary minerals. Obviously, we'd have to be very careful, though. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Probably if there was a place for us to quote unquote colonize and more like have people live in space, asteroids are a good place to do them. They're fairly unlikely to have life on them, and they're small enough that we could make sure, and we could drill into them to not only get like necessary materials for living in space, but also you could live inside of them. Hey, creme brulee, thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Yum yum yum. So I would definitely say that asteroid mining is good. I would like it if it wasn't done for the sake of capitalist greed, but it's not like it's definitely not like a decision on the scale of like colonizing Mars. It's a different type of situation. I'm 18. I plan on taking dance lessons once I'm on my own. Also plan on learning how to safely and effectively use guns from a couple of friends of mine who are well acquainted with guns. Logan, that sounds fucking awesome. Eggs are periods, not abortions. No. If people came from eggs, Alex Jones would be even weird. Oh boy. Now I'm like starting to think about like if humans came from eggs, all the social stuff that we'd attribute to it, like they're so fragile. Like what kinds of things would we do to make sure that our eggs are safe? Like we would make like an egg case or something that you would not be able to take your eggs out of, because like we would have like I would honestly think that if humans actually laid eggs, that there would be some sort of service that takes your egg and keeps it safe for you, and like you get notified if it looks like there's signs that it's hatching. Like I honestly don't like just leaving an egg in someone's house seems like a recipe for disaster. So I could totally see something like that happening. Suppose a Supreme Court judge dies in Minecraft. Could the other players blockade the server Senate to stop the senators players from picking a new judge? I mean, theoretically, yeah. This is the thing. If the Democrats learned that all of these norms are just what you're saying, norms, and you can break them and exert political will, then you'd have actual politics happening in politics, and the Democrats might actually fight for people. But the problem with what's going on right now is that the Republicans realize that you can just break norms, that's a thing you can do, but the Democrats refuse to do that. In the far future, would you be okay with having advanced gene therapy where humans could go back and forth changing sexes until they find what they prefer? Yeah, sure. If that technology existed, it'd be a godsend. I wouldn't, like, what's it called? I wouldn't even, like, it would be great if you could do that just to, like, I don't know, just try shit out. Like, why not? Like, I don't know. It'd definitely be better for a lot of people. All right, somebody asked me, what's your general view of Biden, if you don't mind me asking, good/bad? I think that's a good time for me to take a quick washroom break, and then I will answer your question in a second. So I'm going to put on some nice music for you guys, and then I'll be back in just a minute. Hello, everybody. I am back. Sorry about the wait there. All right. So, general view of Biden. I mean, I'm not a fan. I made 2 videos about how bad he was last year, and I was a firm supporter of Bernie Sanders, and I think that was the only really good candidate who was running for president in the Democratic primaries. I think that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party put people's life in danger, possibly even killed people to force primaries to happen during a pandemic in order to force a vote to happen so that voter turnout would be suppressed so that Joe Biden would beat Bernie Sanders. I think that they intentionally took polling places out of university campuses and made vote, and you saw that the more restrictive voting, the more difficult it was to vote in a primary, the more likely it was that Joe Biden would win. And I think that they handpicked the candidate, and they were ready to they thought that the whole Democratic primary process was just like a show for them. So Joe Biden, I don't think Joe Biden won the Democratic primaries legitimately. And I think that his policies are absolutely atrocious. His healthcare policy will result in the resuming deaths of over 60,000 people a year who die because they don't have access to healthcare in America. I think that he would hold up a U.S. foreign policy that would result in the deaths of thousands and thousands of people a year abroad that Americans seem to not care about because, as I have learned, Americans don't care about anybody's lives if they are brown or from a brown country. And so that's my general opinion on Joe Biden. Now, if I was... And also he is a firm believer in neoliberal economics that are not only making the entire world uninhabitable, but is driving inequality so high in his country that it is on the verge of cracking in half over a pandemic. He's probably going to be one of the most right-wing Democrats in decades. And yeah, I think that politically he's like almost at the point of like a George W. Bush Jr. A George Bush Jr. like level of like far right-wing austerity economics, that kind of thing. But also he's not supported by Nazis, except for Richard Spencer. With the exception of Richard Spencer, he is supported by far fewer Nazis. And also, he's not literally like egging on. He's not literally telling people to not wear masks during a pandemic and actively stymieing attempts to do anything about a pandemic because it would hurt his support numbers. It would hurt him in the polls. And also, he's not actively egging on violence against left-wing people. He's calling for the arrest. He's calling for it to be illegal to be an anarchist in America. But besides that, he's not actively like supporting a 17-year-old kid firing a weapon and killing 2 protesters. So, that's like my like, if I was in America and I had to vote, I would probably do the Joe Biden thing and then never talk about it because I would feel dirty and gross having had to do that. But because I think Joe Biden is possibly the worst candidate the Democratic Party have fielded in decades. I think that he is worse than Hillary Clinton. In the fact that he is just a much less competent leader. He's a much less competent campaigner. He is a completely feckless and mindless old man who is very obviously got like dementia or something. But he's a husk that the Democratic Party is forced through the primaries because they wanted the same group of billionaires and powerful donor class people to run the party, and they wanted to make sure that the banks were not threatened. And that really fucking sucks. That really fucking sucks. And I think that even though, if you were to ask me who should I vote for, I would say you should probably vote for Joe Biden. I would say that even though that is the case, we should never, ever forgive the Democratic Party for what they did, and we should spend the day after the election's over, spend significant effort to destroy the Democratic Party that created Joe Biden, and make sure that something like this literal form of blackmail, this fucking holding America hostage to literal fascism in order to keep corporate control over the American people, that needs to stop. And what's it called? Just like when you escape from somebody who had a gun to your head and force you to do something, like, no, fuck it. What's it called? Never forget this moment. Never forget what they made us do. And thank you, it's Samo, for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Because, yeah, Joe Biden is a insult to the efforts of people who are trying to make the world a better place. He's a person who looked at a growing swell of people who wanted to turn the United States into a slightly better country and said, no, fuck you, and moved on. Said, you think the party belongs to you? No, it belongs to rich people. Go to hell. Fuck you, got mine. You're going to vote for us because if you don't vote for me, you get the fascism. So, like, And you should in no way be excited to vote for Joe Biden, and in no way should you think that the Democratic Party is anything but a political enemy that literally extorted people to win this election. And yeah. And you should never really, they used extortion to win an election. Well, that was cheery. Okay. When people are talking about terraforming Mars and Venus, they forget that it would take a minimum in the thousands of years. We could start with minimal resources, like building a machine to produce a magnetosphere and mirrors to heat up the poles to release CO2. Also, by the time we start colonizing Mars, which would take the better part of a century, we should have greened the planet's economy. That's okay. That wasn't a question, though. You'd think at some point you could do a Tristan Won't Shut Up about common First Nations myths, i.e. they get free money. Most of them were dead when the colonization started, etc. Maybe. I feel like I don't know enough about that kind of thing to talk about it with confidence, but plus, like, I'm kind of nervous about anything that goes super Canadian specific like that. Just because almost half of my audience is American. From the data, Canada represents about 9% of Step Back's audience. So doing something that's like not like an interesting thing about Canadian history, but like a very specific thing about the situation in Canadian politics would be a little, it would not do well. Tristan won't shut up. How come his streams end after a few hours? What you guys don't know is that once the stream stops, I keep talking. I know a thing or two about some of the stuff about alien abductions as a former UFO fan. Mind if I give my 2 cents? Sure. At least with chickens, the chick almost totally gestates inside the egg. If you crack one that is fertile, you'll find something like a cluster of cells you would in the very early stages of pregnancy. That's not the chicken that's pregnant, it's the egg. Oh, cool. I learned something about eggs today. In The Handmaid's Tale, it's implied that there are still other countries that still like liberal democracies. If the U.S. did turn into a far-right theocracy, do you think they'd try to force that on the rest of the world? Probably, but I feel like in the turmoil that would be created by such a transition, they would lose a lot of their ability to exert force around the world. But who knows? I mean, if America turned into a far-right theocracy and then tried to export its ideology to the rest of the world, you're just referring to what is referred to as now in the 1980s, like when they were overthrowing like social democrats to put in fascist dictators because money. What does it say about society that we are so invested in two drugged up, demented old white men arguing with each other incoherently? Oh boy. I mean, America's fucked. Has been for a long time. Pacifism, when it comes to struggle against oppression, is just a lie so that the oppressors can stay in power and alive. Biden has dementia. Thank you for following and welcome to the org. God damn. I'm not willing to give up on pacifism yet, but we'll see. There's a time and place, you know? Could Twitch be a good place to teach theory, striving for the quality of actual class and stuff? I mean, you could... It'd be interesting if somebody were to do their lectures on Twitch. I imagine some people do it. People go to church on Twitch, which I found out recently. That, like, there's churches that do their services on Twitch, which I thought was kind of a cool concept. So, I mean, suppose you could. I always think, though, that a lot of times theory is, like, I found myself learning theory better when I was able to ask questions. Like, theory is a hard thing to teach in a class, like a big lecture class. Theory is much more of a thing that I have found easier to learn when I was, like, in a seminar class, or when I was alone with a book, or when I was able to, like, hang out with, like, with people who did understand it and kind of the Socratic method. I found that specifically for theory, that was a lot better. You've gotten closer to some of your friends by playing Star Trek Adventures with them. I am so jealous. I want to play Star Trek Adventures so bad. Skip Discovery, it stinks. No, it's good. It's what's it called? It's underappreciated for sure. Are you going to talk about how problematic Enterprise is? Yeah, I'm going to talk, because the thing is, like, Enterprise has this general idea in Star Trek fandom that it's a bad show and that it's kind of irredeemable. And what I will say about it is that it's, first of all, like, why you should watch Enterprise. And I'll say this to you guys. I'll give you guys kind of like a little bit of what I'm thinking. You should watch Enterprise because it is, first of all, an interesting glimpse into a very weird time in American history. So Enterprise aired, the first season of Enterprise aired in the fall of 2001. So it's a TV show that came out during the, like, peak of, like, 9/11's reaction and the war on terror and everything like that. And you can see, like, just between seasons, the, like, weird political moments that America was in, especially in season 3 and season 4 specifically. You can see the rise in, like the movement towards the weird situation, like the weird, like, ways that, the weird way that we all thought in, like, the immediate wake of 9/11. There's also some episodes that are, like, legitimately, like, they have some legitimately good sci-fi concepts that say a lot about the world we live in today. And there are also episodes that are really good case studies in why, like, really good case studies in straight up racism. And, like, there is an episode of Star Trek that I think is, of Enterprise, that is one of the most racist things committed to a TV show. And it's a good case study to show just, like, just kind of how fucked up the situation was that the show was made in. And then, you know, it's got its place in the overall Star Trek oeuvre as being the last of the Rick Berman shows. So it was sort of the end of the Star Trek Rick Berman era that started in, like, 1990 and went until 2001. So it's part of, like, the history of Star Trek. It has an interesting spot in that. And it's also one of those things I would say is it's honestly not as bad as I remember it being. SRA equals Socialist Rifle Association. Oh, I've heard of them. I give hesitating support because I don't really know. Like, I don't like to give support to things that just because it has a good name, but, like, I would need to do homework to really actually say whether or not I think the SRA is good or not. It was Gorotan Singh on the surfs. Oh, okay. I can't muster the energy to begin decades worth of a show, but I did watch the first Gundam from '79 some years back, and I'd actually recommend it. Oh, neat. Oh, it was Jagmeet Singh's brother? That's kind of cool still. It's a crime punishable by death to be black. What law is that? Holy shit, that's new to me. It is the... What is it called? We just saw a police officer... We saw 3 police officers in plain clothes doing a no-knock raid murder a black woman in her sleep. And then... the only thing they got charged for was damaging a wall. If that doesn't say that being black is a crime punishable by death, I don't know what does. I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna ban this guy real quick. I ended up going to school like that, where you went at your own pace and took what classes you wanted until you got all your credits to graduate. Well, that's good. A few streams ago, I mentioned how there was a lot of police activity in my apartment complex. Well, I later found out armed cops broke into my neighbor's apartment thinking a killer had broken in. My neighbor is still waiting on the cops to cover his broken door money. Jesus Christ. When I hear the word culture, I reach for my gun. That was an expression popular with Nazis, and why Ian Banks called his fictional left-wing utopia the culture. Does knowing that make you inclined to check out his work? I mean, maybe I'll give it a try sometime. As I've like I said, the only person who, like, I've been told that it's very dry, is all. Which, you know, which means I'll give it a shot, but there's no guarantee I'm actually going to read it. Like I said, it was the culture was described to me by a friend as a great Wikipedia article, but maybe not necessarily like a riveting story. So, I don't know. Performing arts. Let's see. Scroll and scroll and scroll and get some questions. Incubator services, yeah. Is worshipping false idols a thing present in all types of government, or is that mostly found in capitalism? If worshipping false idols is a thing present in all types of governments, or is it generally found in capitalism? I found too many college students who became individualists and praised like Musk and Bezos. Maybe capitalism distorted their minds. I mean, no, hero worship is much older than capitalism, obviously. Something about like our culture today that has a lot of like cult of personality bullshit, but no, it's not unique to capitalism, that's for sure. Capitalism is only like 400 years old, you know? Trying to get to a next... here we go. So you're against colonizing other planets, but how do you feel about building space habitats near Earth? We could potentially build like a mini ring out of carbon nanotubes. I'd be down. I don't know how much carbon we would need to do that, but like, I've kind of gone on the record to say that like the optimal future of humanity, in my opinion, is like living on space habitats and leaving the planets the fuck alone. Because like, I feel like the best thing that we could do for Earth is just leave it and just not live on it anymore. Anarchists have heroes too, yeah. Recruit to new habitats, not colonize. As that is as groups of humans taking over another group homeland. Yeah, okay, recruit. I did not know that you could use a word that way. Do you understand? Yes. Amazing how much more you can learn about a thing when it's actually done in a more entertaining way. I'm an entertainer. Do you ever wonder if progressive U.S. House members think and talk about the same topics that you discussed and try to get support for them? For example, AOC actively trying to sway her colleagues to dismiss norms and exert political will. There are people who have who try to do this, yes. I'm not sure if AOC is one of them, but like, there's a really great book called How to Fight Dirty, which is like, We Need to Fight Dirty, which is a book about how the Democrats could, if they decided to not listen to norms, push through a bunch of stuff. And like, while that idea is like, it exists, it's floating around. Some of them are things that have existed and are definitely on some Democrats' wish lists. Like, there are definitely Democrats in like their party structure that are trying to push for like DC statehood and Puerto Rican statehood as an example. But yeah, the party establishment's really strong. Was Howard Zinn an anarchist? I don't think so. I think Howard Zinn was... I don't know what Howard Zinn was, but I don't remember. I've never heard of anybody refer to him as an anarchist. Do you think there will be a time in the future when things feel normal again? Not better, just like stable again? I don't know. History keeps happening. Can't tell you, honestly. So you're saying this is the racist guy. Biden supports some form of universal health care. He promotes like a public option, which means that the government runs a health care program that still costs money, but not a public health care service. So, yeah. Tristan, what do you think about the seemingly endemic problem of left disunity? I say so because currently in my country, Chile, we are about to begin a process of writing a new constitution, and yet the left, unlike the right, seems incapable of forming a united coalition in order to avoid overrepresenting the right in the convention or mayoral elections. Still, a lot of it is understandable, as the main division is between newer parties and older ones with a history of neoliberal politics. I mean, I don't know if a neoliberal. The thing is that, like, a lot of what's called left disunity is more that people think that liberals are on the left when they are not. They have sided with fascists in every single opportunity they could to oppose the left. And while they might not be horrible reactionaries on like social issues, at the end of the day, when it comes to like the actual power, edible, changeable, or edible change, material change, they will never be your friends because they are fundamentally still on the political right. They believe in the value of economic inequality and such. If you're talking about like the endless fighting between like, the still not resolved issue about the fact that the Soviets expended a lot of their energy in their first years killing all the anarchists. Hey, MXMBus, thank you for following. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to. Reconciling that history is going to take some work. Because it seems like, I don't know, I'm still looking every time I look on the internet, it seems that Marxist-Leninists are still like ready to basically do a Kronstadt to anarchists at the first opportunity they have. But for the most part, issue by issue is the only way I could think that we could have like a real, unity, as you would say. But realizing that liberals aren't and will never be our friends, I think, is also a thing to just accept. Interesting. There's some weird people coming out of the woodwork tonight. I don't know what the hell their deal is. Oops. It's funny, I talk a tiny bit about Chile in my next Tristan Won't Shut Up video because I mentioned that I've been wanting to make a video about cybersin. And someday I will. Cybersin's awesome. And also, oh yeah, not reading that one. Nice try, yeah, racist bastard. What's it called? No Jackbox today then either. No, we have retired Jackbox. Jackbox is no longer a thing we're doing anymore, sadly. The racists ruined it. What do you think about the seemingly I already answered that one. This is the dark timeline, oh boy. Was Joe Biden more economically progressive when he entered politics in the early 1970s? That was pre-neoliberalism. I thought that he kind of came into, like, the thing is that Joe Biden is a creature of the conservative movement of the Democrats. Like, he came to power when the Democrats started moving to the right. So he's always been like on the right of the Democratic Party, and he sort of rose up during that like 1970s, like when neoliberalism started to come into the Democratic Party. So I don't know if he's more economically progressive or if he was more economically progressive back then, because his main focus in the 1970s was about preventing school integration. So was supporting segregation with his buddy Strom Thurmond. So he was against busing. Bro, you got to make a TikTok about everything you just said about Biden. I've tried to make a TikTok, man. The comment section of my TikToks, it's like, what if the dumbest people imaginable had the absolute wrongest possible take on your videos? And like that was my experience with TikTok comments. But what's it called? I definitely should. Maybe I should try again. just to complain about Joe Biden. Hey, thank you for the bit, Deputy Gendo. I just subscribed, but you didn't receive a notification. Oh, no! Well, thank you, Deputy Gendo, for subscribing. I'm sorry for that. I don't know what happened. The thing didn't show up on my thingy, like my activity feed either. So, something must have glitched out there. Sorry. Let's see. Keep up the good work. Thank you. The Democratic Party is so abusive with its base. It's amazing. It needs to be destroyed, root and branch. For real. Let's see. There's just that racist guy doing racism before I banned him. Twitch Church, yup. Andre Demise does streams where he's doing history research. That's cool. I need to watch more streams. I don't get to watch a whole lot of streams. If only 9% of your audience is Canadian, wouldn't Canadian content pique the curiosity of your audience? Like when you talked about little-known religions? To an extent, like there are kinds of topics that would pique curiosities about like Canada, and there are some that have done that. Like I did one about the 1995 referendum. That's an example of something that would work. But like, for example, if like the video that that Matt wanted me to make, that is like clearing specifically Canadian misconceptions about Indigenous people, that is very much like a video about Canadians. But it's really only for Canadians, which is basically ruling out about 91% of my audience. Betty Hill story. Okay, so alien abduction was like before the Hills. Stories of alien kidnappings were more like stuff out of cheesy sci-fi movies from the 50s. Now everyone is just remixes of what happened to the Hills. Light in the Sky, Missing Time, Gray Aliens Probing. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. This new thing called Movement for a People's Party, which states that anti-corporate and wants to compete with the Democrats and Republican parties. Second Thought mentioned it in his last video. Yeah, I saw that was happening, and it's got some pretty good people attached. And basically the idea is in 2024 to run some local races and then maybe put together the structure for a presidential race in 2028. To put together some local races in 2022 and then try to maybe mobilize for a presidential run in 2024, which like doesn't sound like a bad idea. Like if you want to build a new American political party, starting at the local level is the important part. We'll see where it goes. I hope it has some like real high octane people involved. So I'm kind of interested. I played Among 2020 being Bernie 2020. I played Among Us being Bernie 2020. I was a good boy and did all my tasks. Okay. Crew ends up ejecting me. It's a DNC all over again. Oh, yeah. I remember liking Enterprise. I was pretty young, though. Was I wrong? The show is entertaining. It's deeply flawed. And it is like it's got some pretty questionable writing, and it is the full extent of like the thing about if you think about Star Trek in like the kind of like 90s and early 2000s, the Berman era, is that you can see Star Trek as like a procession of Rick Berman taking more and more direct control of Star Trek, and by doing so making it worse. And Enterprise was when Rick Berman had the most control over the show, to the point where like he like he like got like what like 3 script writing credits for like all of Voyager and D Space Nine, and like wrote a shit ton of Enterprise episodes. So like it's the show he had the most hands-on approach with. And so everything that was annoying about Rick Berman era Star Trek is like dialed up to 11 in Enterprise. But despite that, the cast is so good, and there are some like genuinely well-written episodes that Rick Berman didn't write that do save the show a little bit. No episode is like amazing, but it's a lot better than I thought it was. It did have possibly the worst series finale in history, which sucks because the episode before the series finale actually could have functioned as a series finale and have been great. But they just had to add one more for like no reason. Are you excited for the debate tonight in America? No, it's starting right now, and I'm sure I'm gonna open a tab and look at Twitter because we can't watch the debate because I'm gonna stop streaming at 10, so I can't drop out halfway through, but I'll keep tabs on Twitter to see if anything interesting happens. We'll see. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's anything. There's going to be anything interesting happening in there though. Like everyone's watching it for entertainment. Nobody's undecided at this point. So I don't know. This is all about like getting people riled up for their base. All right. Everyone knows the Men in Black story from movies, books, and TV. And now people assume weird lights in the sky get an idea of weird government agents coming after them. Yeah. So it's like a social contagion. It's a meme. Can you elaborate on one in particular was so bad about the episode with the pseudo-Muslims aliens? I remember it being iffy, but I haven't watched it in years. Basically, the main thing that I didn't like is that, first of all, it makes light of... It plays... Like first, the thesis of the episode. There's like it's like so. I'm not just having a one-on-one conversation. There are 58 of you here. So what this is there's an episode of Star Trek Enterprise that I really hate because it's like possibly one of the most racist things ever made. It's written by a guy who would then end up becoming the executive producer of 24. So it's that bad. What it is this guy. Is on the Enterprise. There's these aliens that show up friendly to visit, and they worship the orb that these spheres that the Enterprise has been studying, and they have they think that they're like, oh yeah, this is like man-made and stuff like that, like this is made by some alien or something, but these people worship it and think it was made by gods, and so then they take over the ship. They literally hijack the Enterprise because they have a biological weapon that if they stab themselves with a certain thing, it makes them literally suicide bomb. So already we've got, oh my, they believe a religious thing that is silly. 2, they hijack the Enterprise. They hijack a ship. 3, and they do so by using suicide bombers. So already they're like, these are space Muslims, and they're both dumb and evil. Then they show them as being misogynistic. They show them as by talking about like they don't listen to the women and all those kinds of things. Then they get easily hoodwinked by Jonathan Archer with like one of the dumbest where he like convinces them that the transporter is like an execution device and it will kill him, but they actually just transport him to another part of the ship, and so they think he's dead. They also are mad because they went into the spheres and violated sacred ground, which is them making a specific reference to the reason why Osama bin Laden declared a jihad on the United States for setting up military bases on sacred Islamic ground in Saudi Arabia. they manage to hoodwink them, and then they find out that they wanted the Enterprise because they want to commit holy war on the infidels. And the infidels believe that the spheres were built in 10 days, while they believe the spheres were built in 9 days. Which is another, like, them trying to, like, it's an obvious thing about Shia-Sunni, the Shia-Sunni divide. Because the Shia-Sunni divide is about a dispute about, is, like, if you just go, like, with no context whatsoever, the Shia-Sunni divide is about a dispute, about disputing the succession of the Prophet Muhammad and who should run the religion afterwards. That's like at its core, that's what the debate in between Shia and Sunni Islam is. But that's like saying that, like, the Troubles in Ireland was about a doctrinal difference between Catholics and Protestants. So they're already oversimplifying the issue to then also say, haha, isn't Islam silly? This small thing that's not important is causing them to hate each other. And it's like, okay, bud, you're obviously not getting what's going on here. Then they go back to, after they, like, secure them and they, like, you know, do a Star Trek and then beat these aliens, they then take them back to their home world that they left a year ago. And they find out that in the year, basically, the planet destroyed, like, everybody, like, destroyed each other, and they, like, nuked the city, and, like, everything is destroyed. And what basically, what this is trying to imply is that this is why the Middle East is a mess. The Middle East is a mess because of these silly differences and these dumb zealots. When, like, that is trying to erase, like, the long history of colonization and U.S. imperialism and, like, all of the other things to try and sell this story that, haha, aren't Muslims silly and superstitious and dumb and evil. And, like, it's one of the most racist fucking TV shows I've ever seen. That's my elaboration of that episode. Because it also pretty well illustrates the many issues that Westerners have when interpreting what's going on and why why terrorism exists and why the Middle East has the political problems it does. Plus, also, that's a bit of a misinterpretation because the Middle East is not the disaster you think it is. It is in some places, but, like, not everywhere. The Middle East is a huge region that has a lot of people in it. And yeah, and, like, you know, painting all this entire religion as people of religious fanatics when, like, you know, that's not the case. And it's just like it's playing into stereotypes and really dangerous reductionist analyses of basically, like, one of the of a region that is a current political, like, hotbed, and especially at the time that episode came out. And if to have, like, a Muslim analog at a time when there was, like, this anti-Muslim fervor and the U.S. was involved in a war in the Middle East, this is explicitly trying to push off, like, a incorrect idea of what is going on and what the situation is, in order to, sort of as the overall season arc is, to justify and think that the war is a good idea. So that's the whole thing. Whew. Well, you don't have to be crazy to see UFO or aliens. It's a result of these stories being codified myths in the popular imagination. Myths created by exploiting people with mental issues. Oh, gosh. I think I saw most of that. All right. Info dump. I have no attention. Okay. Right now, I'm reading Axiom's Wake, which is pretty fun, actually. I'm having a good time with it. Pretty good adventure. If you guys ever get a chance to read Axiom's Wake, do it. It's pretty good. All right. Do you think Mitsubishi should be illegal? Oh, this is the racist. Okay. Is there still Nazis in the chat? No. Okay. Does it matter how progressive Biden is if the Supreme Court will slap down everything progressive he might try to do? I mean, if he was really a progressive, he would do, you know, packing the court and stuff like that to make things work. I don't even know. Okay. I don't know what's going on in debate land. I can't really tell. Okay. Does it matter how progressive oh, we already used that. This is this is when the Nazi came in. Okay. I'm scrolling to see if again. How would you change tankies to anarchists? I would want to point out that the main thing I want to point out is that it's a good question. It's a really good question. My answer to Marxist-Leninists usually is that to look at things, organizations, you know, socialists, all in general, people on the left love organization, right? Want everybody to work together, to cooperate, those kinds of things. And I always like to talk about, like, hey, why don't you just imagine your domains in life? About, like, you know, how free your domains in life are. If you look at, like, our society, right? You've got your house, your family, which I would argue is sort of anarchist in its disposition, at least most of the time, you know, like family, you know, there's at least in, you know, a healthy family, there's no threat of violence. There's no, like, decisions are usually, important decisions are made democratically. Everybody in there has a relationship with everybody else. So, you know, like, what you do, how what you do will affect others, roughly. Those kinds of things. And so in that part of your life, and a lot of people, family is their favorite part of life. In family, hey, there's your subscription.
Biden so far looks ERY low energy, feels bad since I'll care about seniors.
Oh boy. So that section of your life, you are pretty free. The government is less free. You get to, if you're lucky, choose a delegate to represent roughly yours and thousands of other people's ideas in aggregate every few years. There's no way to opt out. The government has literal people with weapons that are ready to kill you if you violate the rules. Even though you never agreed to them, you never signed, you never said you're going to be part of it. And you know, in those domains of your life, the political domain, the domains that all of it is political, but in the domains of, like, what we would call capital P politics today, stuff to do with government and policy, you have very little say. And and it uses violence to uphold itself, and it's like a big part of your everyday life. And capitalism, or work, is another domain of your life that is a completely hierarchical. You have absolutely no say what happens. Somebody on top who doesn't even know who you are can change policy that could ruin your life without consulting you, or you even thinking that you should have any form of say in what happens in the place that you spend 8 hours a day. And people hate that. And if there's anything you could say, people hate their job the most, the government the second most, and their family least. In an ideal situation. Obviously, there's going to be different contexts and different, this is extremely generalized. And so what I would say to, like, tankies and Marxist-Leninists is, like, first of all, have to make sure that they value freedom, like, as a concept. Because a lot of tankies don't. Like, they don't, like, they're, like things like freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom of expression, they actually don't value. In which case, I don't even know where to start. If you don't think freedom is a good thing, I don't exactly know how to get you out of that situation. But I think a lot of Marxist-Leninists generally do like freedom. They just think that it's of lower priority compared to, like, making sure that the economy is collectivized and all those kinds of things. But, like, most of the time their criticisms of anarchists are that they are idealistic, overly idealistic, and what's it called? Overly idealistic and sometimes naive. Naive is a word we get a lot. And so typically to more authoritarian leftists, I would say, is we've done a lot of experiments with authoritarian leftist regimes. And something about the way that we set them up, the way that they basically, first of all, their dedication to equality sure features a lot of misery and toil and labor and death. But then also they seem to always fall apart because authoritarian structures, by their nature, are just unstable organizations that can't really adapt to change in a healthy way. And so I would say that a more robust and more healthy way of organizing society is to make it as decentralized as possible, in which case you get into anarchism territory. But it's a tough conversation to have, though. Ooh, there's a new Quiplash coming out? That's cool. I like it. So TikTok is just like YouTube comments. Oh, no. TikTok comments are way dumber than YouTube comments. Way dumber. I got a comment on one of my TikTok videos where a guy gave me his address and told me to fight him. I deleted the comment because he doxed himself in my comment section. And I was like, oh my God. He was like, here's my address. Come here and say this to my face. And I was like, yeah, I'm deleting this. So what if the U.S. government builds a load of hospitals around the country that offer free medical care, like an NHS system in opposition to the private healthcare system? If the Supreme Court are going to oppose banning private healthcare, I thought that might be an alternate way to achieve universal medical care. So just, like, build a whole system of hospitals on top of the ones we have. Like, if you think that public healthcare is expensive, imagine doing that. But, I don't know, I feel like that is prohibitively expensive to just, like, rebuild the entire medical infrastructure, and this time it's just a public works project. Do you think there will ever be a U.S. constitutional convention? What would be the pros and cons of calling a constitutional convention? I mean, the big con is that it would never go anywhere. To get all the critical number of states on board to make a constitutional change right now would be basically impossible. So the big con is, like, there's no point. It wouldn't go anywhere. Pros? I don't know. Not sure. Everyone's watching the debate now, and I'm like trying to figure out what this is. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything good going on. Doesn't seem like it. Seems like Kelly just tweeted saying, "How could this be simultaneously so boring and so nonsensical?" So, yeah. This debate is hell, says Lucid Fox. Could you make a video about how the EU is not a democratic institution? I don't know. Maybe, but like I wouldn't want to start a video with a thesis. Maybe a video about the European Union, which I've already kind of done, because I wrote a script for the Cold War, and the Cold War sort of has like a series we're going to do throughout the run of the channel. That's going to be like the creation of the European Union throughout the Cold War. So I've already started, but I don't know. You have to, like, the thing is, like, I don't really want, like, my videos have to have a good story behind them, right? Like, I have to have something that can have some sort of, like, you know, character, like, follow-through that has, like, emotional beats. Because if you just, like, if I just made videos that were just, like, here is the topic of today, point 1.1, the beginning of the thing, point 1.2, the thing continues, like, no one will watch that. It'll turn off immediately. So you have to make... So, like, when I'm thinking about what videos to do, I really need to, like, figure out what's the thing I'm saying that's relevant, you know? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with what's going on in the world, and what is going on in people's lives? Or is there a really good story in this that sort of will make it entertaining in its own right? I gotta think through those things before I make a video. Plus, there's a really funny thing. I think it was like Quentin Reviews, I think, who said this, where like being a YouTuber is like being a musician at a concert, where people are shouting out requests for songs you haven't written yet. So I'm always just like, I get a lot, like, people ask me to make videos on this and that all the time. I probably get like 5, 6, 7 a day. But like, just topic is not gonna really persuade me much. You have to like give me like a pitch, you know, like, why is this important? What's the significance? Why should I care? What's the story? Is it compelling? Is there a really cool person? Like, I think one of the most compelling requests for a video topic I ever got was someone who wrote me a pitch about like this really cool, interesting person from history. And it's on my list of videos to make someday because, like, yeah, the person's story kind of rules, so... The last season of Enterprise was at least having some fun with the universe, but that finale definitely wasn't great. Yeah. About my question about leftist unity, for the record, I was thinking about the case where older establishment parties that claimed to be democratic socialist or social democratic implemented neoliberal policies during the 90s and 2000s, but now are professed to being regretful of their recent past, versus newer ones that claim to actually be democratic socialist or social democratic. Oh boy. I mean, in those situations, just... the main thing that I like, the main issue of unity is that, like, there's like bad, like, you have to, like, you can't just like think about it in like this academic vacuum, you know, that there's history involved. People are the result of their history, and a lot of times, like, until you try to find a way to, you know, truth and reconciliation, you know, to admit all the things that were bad and try to reconcile those differences, then you can move forward. Like, honestly, there might be some people talking about the possibility that if Trump loses this election, that they might do a Truth and Reconciliation Commission on the Trump years, which, like, okay. You've ever watched Mission Hill? It was a short-lived show created by the guys behind seasons 6 to 8 of The Simpsons. Had really good LGBT rep for a show from 2000 as well. I've not seen it. Do debates really matter? That is up... It's funny, that is up for debate. I think that debates are like one of the few things that like undecided voters tend to watch to come to a conclusion about whether or not they're going to vote for somebody. It's definitely a big thing for the campaign in the sense that like two people that really, really, really want everyone's attention have everyone's attention for a few hours. But like a lot of the idea of like what political debates have devolved into have been like there's sort of this, I think it was like Ronald Reagan that really like broke the meta of presidential debates, that sort of broke all political debates, which is that Ronald Reagan didn't care about being wrong because he knew that if he said something wrong but he said it with confidence and the other person was right but was always defending and correcting, that, you know, even like a couple days later, people aren't going to remember that you were wrong. They're going to remember that you were confident and you were on the attack. And so really it's all about giving that impression to the people who are the most checked out of politics who still vote. And in that case, it's usually pretty important. But like this debate does seem sort of superfluous just because this is a presidential election where at this point, pretty much everybody knows who they're voting for. Like, can you imagine who is an undecided voter in fucking October in the year of our Lord 2020? Like, I don't know. But I feel like there's like, they were definitely more significant back in the day when, you know, when media wasn't so consumed by 24/7 news. Like, when the presidential campaigns were happening, like, you know, 50 years ago or whatever, the news was an hour at 6 o'clock. That's it. That's it. And so like the debates were like one of the few events where you would, one of the few events where you would see what the president's policy differences were right before the end, like right before you voted. It's because like the election was a smaller part of your life. Now, politics feels like it's like an all-encompassing like blob over our lives. For most for a good chunk of Americans, they're not even going to watch it because they're not even voting, so it doesn't matter. But like now, it's sort of evolved its own culture, its own rules, its own norms, and in many ways, the way that politics works now, because it used to work in a way where if you had, you had this guy, you had this guy, and there were people who liked this guy, and the people who liked this guy, and then there was like a bunch of gray people in the middle who you're like, I'll weigh different policy beliefs and, come to a conclusion sometime close to election day. But that's not how elections work anymore. The internet has cranked up all of our radicalization funnels, and now we are all either like really into this guy or really into this guy or fuck both of them. And now politics is more about getting as many of the guys who like you out as possible to come vote for you. About turning out the base in big numbers with exciting policy and a strong campaign, rather than trying to convince the people who are undecided over, because there's the undecided voter in the suburbs. They kind of don't exist anymore. There's the bases, and really now it's about trying to get out the vote as much as possible, and make the case to the people who don't vote, because the only real place to mine for new voters is people who don't vote, which in America is about 29% of the population at this point, if not more. Because like about 40-something% of Americans don't vote, but like half of them don't vote because they're ineligible. So I think it's like about 29% of Americans who can vote but don't, which is more than 1 in 4. The problem is that if people want to support you, it's typically because they want a seat at the table. They want something. And both parties right now are not really in the business of promising people things, because they want to keep things going the way they are. Their policy's already been decided by the donors. So instead, they're going to go for the people who they can try and convince to vote either way, without promising them anything. And so, I don't know. In the end, I think debates are, turning into a ritual, part of the theater, before, a thing that you can't be seen not doing, but by doing it, it's kind of pointless as part of the build up to an election. Like, for example, the last Canadian election, the first debate, the Prime Minister didn't show up. He literally didn't show up. Justin Trudeau didn't show up to the first leaders debate in the 2019 election. And he won. So where was/is Rick Berman politically? I remember him saying he didn't believe in the Star Trek future. If I remember, he's actually fairly conservative. He's a white boomer man. That says enough. Apparently, the Gravel Institute is making a left-wing counter to PragerU. Oh yes, I know. I'm already a patron of the Gravel Institute. I think that's a really great idea, and the people that the Gravel Institute have access to is pretty awesome. So I'm pretty excited for it. Who's your favorite fictional Star Trek race? I mean, probably got to be the Ferengi. They are fun. They're shitty. They're horrible. But, like, can't deny that in Deep Space Nine, Ferengi episodes were always fun. Plus, like, I loved, what's his name? The guy who played Rex in Toy Story. And he was in Princess Bride, too. The inconceivable guy. But, like, him playing the Grand Nagus was always fun. And, like, I loved Rom. Like, I don't know. I just thought that Ferengi were fun. They are the most fun Star Trek species. I think they're cool in that sense. As far as, like, villains go, I think my favorite Star Trek villains, Wallace Shawn. That's it. He's pretty great. He's also a socialist, which I think is funny because he played the Grand Nagus of the Ferengi. My favorite villain aliens, the Borg are pretty cool. I like the concept of the Borg. They kind of got wing clipped a little bit when they started having Borg queens. I thought that made them less dangerous and less interesting. But the Borg are a pretty cool, creepy bad guy. So I'm almost going to say the Romulans. I always had a thing for the Romulans, but I don't know. They're fine. I can't think of like a Romulan episode that sticks out that I really liked. Except for what's it called? The best episode of Star Trek does feature Romulans heavily, so maybe I'm wrong. Just so you know, the best episode of Star Trek ever made is In the Pale Moonlight. And that's a fact. That's a history fact. Can you think of a better Star Trek episode than In the Pale Moonlight? I don't think so. Well, you joked about yesterday. Should Lower Decks address the Orion women issue or just ignore it? I imagine that. I mean, it would be a tough needle to thread, but I feel like they could do something fun about it. They already kind of did. One of my friends pointed this out to me, that there's sort of like a commentary on the Orions and the way that they've done them as a sort of joke. When they were on the holodeck in the first episode, and Tendi was like, "Oh, like let's see, like I want to see my home, Orion," and Orion was like this beautiful planet, and she was like, "Wow, it's so great," as I remember it. And it's like that was kind of like a joke about how everything we think about the Orions is wrong. Or a really funny thing would be is that if like in the time since we last saw Orions in a big way, they've become like way more civilized, and they're just like very nice, very woke people. That would be like a way to sort of address it in a way that's funny and not like, you know, because yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Orions are an alien race in Star Trek that are fairly played up as being like, how do I explain it? They're like one of the more problematic species as far as gender goes, because it's all about like Orion slave girls and all that kind of stuff. And so, but now on Lower Decks, the new show, they just have an Orion character who's just a sort of like normal, adorkable girl who is like just a member of Starfleet. And I was just like, are they ever going to like try and draw attention to like the kind of like weird history that Orions have in the Star Trek universe? And I don't know. If they could find something fun to do with it. Do you have a redacted version of that comment you'd be willing to share? No, I don't have one. Who would win in a UFC cage fight, Biden or Trump? Probably Biden, because Trump literally doesn't believe in exercise. He's literally said that he literally believes like pseudoscientific bullshit that like if you work out, you're shortening your lifespan because your heart only has so many beats. So like that is a sign of a president who does not work out. While like Joe Biden, you could say a lot of shitty things about him. I mean, the guy probably exercises. He's in decent shape for a man of his age. And, you know, his history seems to show that he does a lot of, you know, he was a lifeguard and things like that. So my guess is he probably exercises, which I think in a fight would probably be the thing that would help him out. Do you think surrogate families, i.e. no blood relation but genuine love and mutual respect and care among members, are healthier and more free than your standard nuclear family? Because while I love my folks, I don't feel all that free in my household. It really depends on the family, right? It's very, context dependent. What do you think about the human not trusting the Vulcans arc? I kind of got anti-Semitism vibes from it. I mean, it was them being mad that the Vulcans kept holding them back. So like one of the overarching threads in Star Trek Enterprise is that humans discovered how to travel faster than light and then made first contact with an alien race called the Vulcans. And then the Vulcans spent a century like helping them like advance their spaceships and stuff like that. But like the popular perception is that the Vulcans were sort of like on a high holding them back and had conspiracy theories that they were afraid of what humans were capable of, and that's why they held them back, which turned out to be true. But it led to a lot of like racism against Vulcans and mistrust. I'm not sure. I don't know if anti-Semitism. I don't know if that's what fits. I'm not exactly sure what sort of real life analog there is to what fits on that. In many ways, I think that they were trying to set up as like the people who are sort of like holding back spaceflight because they want to be overly cautious and afraid of their own shadow, and like they don't want to rock the boat too much. Like that, the people who are sort of like hemming and hawing about going out and doing cool shit in space. That's like that kind of fear attitude about going out and saying hi. I think this might be a bit of a different issue from not being a suburbanite and the left isn't a closet queer. Yeah, there. Thoughts on Spitting Image coming back? I don't know who Spitting Image is. A massive public works product that ended in Medicare for all. How is that not an awesome idea? I mean, sure. It's just like, can you imagine how expensive it'd be to rebuild an entire new hospital system in America and replacing all of the hospitals that do exist, or just like building competing hospitals in all the places that exist where those are. I feel like it's like one of the most circuitous routes to Medicare for all I've ever heard of. How does Nixon's right-wing economic policy compare to modern Democrats? I'm trying to remember what Nixon's economic policies were. Like, his thing is that he was responding to a very different time. He was trying to solve stagflation and got rid of the gold standard. So, like, I don't know, like, his, like, he didn't really, like, he was kind of, like, not in a period where the president's, like, he wasn't, like, super ideological. Like, he wasn't, like, the main difference, I would say, between, like, a modern-day Democratic politician versus, like, Richard Nixon is that Richard Nixon was much more of, like, a respond to situations type thing. Like, he wasn't Nixon especially wasn't, like, a strong ideologue. He was very much like a do whatever you need to type guy. Well, like, Democrats are, like, especially like Joe Biden's of, like, free market fundamentalists. That, like, the belief that capitalism can do no wrong, and that the only solution to problems of capitalism is more capitalism. And they're the only people in, like, Nixon's era who were like that were, like, weird psychopaths in the Republican Party and, like, the Chicago boys. My favorites are probably either the Andorians because ice and cool appearance, or those pig guys because they are engineers and miners, and I can vibe with that. Yeah, the Andorians are cool. I mean, they look cool. They haven't, outside of Enterprise, there hasn't been a whole lot of world building of Andorians. The pig people you're talking about are called Tellarites, and they're kind of fun too. Apparently, their whole thing is that the Tellarites' culture is that their way of conversation is constantly insulting and complaining, which I think is kind of fun. If I ever played Star Trek Adventures, I'd kind of want to play a Tellarite engineer. That sounds like a fun character to play. For real, Wallace Shawn is a socialist? Yeah. He's done interviews on Chapo Trap House about it. He wrote a whole play about socialism or something. I don't watch Star Trek. Help! You should start. It's good stuff. Armin Shimmerman. Yeah, the thing is, like, I think socialists would be the best people the socialists who are actors are really the best people to play Ferengi, because they can play the the extreme parody of a capitalist, right? All right. Getting goddamn. I literally can't tell what's going on at the debate. I literally see people being like Trump is fucking this up, and then somebody being like Biden's fucking this up, and like the same things. I'm like, oh boy. They're both fucking it up is probably the answer. In the Pale Moonlight is perfect. Yes, it is the perfect episode of Star Trek. It is. I can live with, like, what's it called? You might disagree. Like, you can disagree and be wrong about what the best Star Trek episode is, because In the Pale Moonlight is the best Star Trek episode, and I can live with that. I can live with that. I must live with that. It's a reference to the episode, which is good, and the best Star Trek episode. Oh my! Am I about to catch up with the chat? Holy crap. Which is easier, building a load of new hospitals or court packing? I would say court packing. Their base is either a cult or electorally captive, so they and their parties don't really give a shit if they fuck it up. Alrighty. Well, we've got 15 minutes and I'm caught up. What do I do now? What am I going to do with you guys? I imagine everyone's... The viewership has gone way down since the debate started. So... I don't even know. Let's see. What is... Let me see what other people are doing to watch the debate, and maybe we can steal an idea. So he's just watching the debate on TV. Guess we could try that. If they're not being taken down, maybe we can get away with it too. Maybe we can avoid the cops. What do you guys say? We should watch a little bit of debate before we stop? Lanch is watching C-SPAN. All right, let's do that. Okay. So let's get caught up. Let's got a YouTube thingy. All right. Guess I can stop the music too.
About make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Oh, well, by the way,
sure, torture me for 15 minutes.
Significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done, and you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on
Wow,
that.
it's true what Kelly said. How could this be both bad and boring?
Lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for the American people.
We misreacted because it's irrelevant shit. Yeah.
You talk about the economy booming.
Well,
it
they're
turns
gonna go to Lance before they go to me.
You know, as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
Mr.
we
Vice
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We
you don't have the energy for these two. It makes sense.
He blew it.
It wasn't
booming.
Blew it.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery
Well, sir,
since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when, in fact, there was when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Oh man,
Chris,
Joe Biden's
Chris,
doing real. He's real. He's like got nothing.
To bring back
his tank. He's like so out of
I
gas.
brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing.
This is bad.
They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
Is it just me? Like I don't know.
I
Feels
was
like
asked
Trump
to
is like
bring
just
back
stepping on top
Chrysler
of
and
them
General Motors.
badly.
Brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not true.
Remember I said about presidential debates being like
went to Michigan,
showing, asserting strength.
It's
It's not about the content. It's about like
so
the
you take a look
emotional
at
of
what
like
he's actually
appearing
done.
to be certain.
He's done
and Trump
very
is
little. His trade deals
doing
are the
very
same
well
way.
at that, sadly.
He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while
not
we're at it,
true.
Why is it, just out of curiosity,
There's like no
the
debates.
mayor of
Mods.
Moscow's wife gave
Where are
his
the
son
mods?
$3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that-
deserve
Wait, wait.
$100?
Feels like Trump is talking over Biden. The moderator is letting him. Yeah, he basically is.
None of that is true.
Oh,
It's
really? He didn't
totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait,
let's
he didn't
talk-
get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
That is not true.
Oh,
Here's-
really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay
report.
her
Oh yeah, this moderator
$183,000
fucking
a month
sucks.
with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
no job.
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
in
The
Ukraine.
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of
Does
fact,
this
matter of
matter?
fact,
I
even
don't
the
know.
people who
Please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
Under
ask you
oath.
this,
Every-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under,
He got $3.5
he
million from
testified-
Moscow.
Both these
he
presidents
testified
or
under
both
oath
these
in
people
his
are definitely
administration,
showing
said,
exactly why people hate
I
them.
did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because
job.
Some people don't
Well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say-
You got the
Here's the
wait a
deal.
This
minute,
is
you
so
got the
annoying.
final
I
word.
can
Well, it's hard to
definitely
get
see that
anywhere
like
with this
Biden's
one.
fucking
Excuse me,
pissed.
Hey, let me just tell you.
No. Mr. President,
$3.5
I'm
Okay.
million,
President.
Joe.
Mods are
That
finally
is
stepping up.
simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote.
a fortune by
That's right.
coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's
Every-
such a
they're right
that's
here.
a-
Mr.
that's
President.
such
Every
a great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us
family.
with
It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million.
He
Oh,
doesn't.
man.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You,
Yeah.
the American people.
Oh, this
it's
debate
about
is
you.
rough.
That's what we're talking about.
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Vice
it's-
Trump just learning it. If you just
Can I be
don't
honest?
shut up
It's a
and
very
just keep
important
interrupting,
No, I
stood
that
up.
this guy's not going to
No,
stop.
the answer to
And
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
Trump
With
looks.
$1 billion
Trump.
if you-
I don't know. Maybe he comes off as pretty.
Not
Stop.
What's it
true.
called?
He's doing it.
You're
He
gonna
seems
have-
pretty unhinged at this
Gentlemen,
point.
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but I
on
see it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with
Oh, man.
fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Well,
interrupting
that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have.
Aw,
Let's please
how-
continue on.
So whiny.
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response
This sucks so
to the
fucking much,
violence
though.
in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked
If someone ran for
about
prime
very
minister had a
fine
Union
people
Jack pin,
on
I'd assume
both
they were a
sides,
fascist. Yeah,
was
if
what
somebody did that in
directly
Canada
led
too,
you
like maybe the conservatives would do that, but
to
man,
launch
that would
this
be
run for
that'd be
president.
sus as hell.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you
God damn, what
is
a line.
why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it.
This is an
It is
absolute
true.
shit
The reason I
show.
got in the
Holy
races with
crap.
those people, close your eyes. Remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever
Finish
said
the
anything
statement.
like that.
Finish the
It
statement.
is who's
Now,
who in
second,
it, sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, There was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said.
Okay, these are actually not bad points.
The general who was
these
with
are good
him
things
said,
to point out.
all
Like
he
him
ever
saying
wants to do
both
is
sides were
divide
good at
people, not
Charlottesville
unite people
and
at all.
gassing
This is a president who has
protesters.
used
Both
everything
those
as a
really good
dogma
lines. Those
to
actually,
try
I think those
to
might actually work.
generate racist hatred, racist division. This is
Why
a
didn't they
man
just give
who,
him
in
the
fact,
drugs? I
talk
agree.
about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African
But yeah,
Americans
he's like,
has
that's a
been
good
killed
point. He's
because
just
of the
sleepy.
coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something
Whoa,
quickly,
1 in
by the end of
1,000
the year,
African Americans have
1
been
in
killed because of the.
500 will have been
Holy
killed.
shit.
1 in 500 African Americans. This man is the savior of African Americans. This man
actually
cares
good.
At all.
I'm not gonna lie. This is like one of the
virtually
better
nothing.
things Biden's
Look,
said
the fact is that
in
you
the
have
last
to
like
look at what he's
2 years.
You have to look at what he did, and what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He is saying it like he's half asleep, yeah, but those were
1994,
good.
where you call them super predators, African Americans are super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir. It's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did.
There's a lot of fuel
and
here.
that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement,
Where did that come
almost
from?
every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at
I think the media is going to say that Trump did better.
They heard we were coming in the following
He has
day.
more
They put up
energy.
their
He's
hands
more
and we got
certain.
back Seattle. Minneapolis,
He doesn't look like
we
he's
got
about
it
to
back,
either
Joe,
cry
because
or fall
we
asleep
believe in
or
law and
both
order,
at the
but
same
you don't.
time,
The
which I
top
feel
10
like is
cities
a
and just
bonus.
about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left, and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand.
And this is actually a
law
good
and order,
move, because
and you're
now,
afraid to even say it.
if Joe
All right.
Biden accepts the
I wanna
premise of the
return to
question,
the
he's going to have to
question
say how
of
much he
race.
loves cops, which is
Vice President Biden, after
definitely
the
gonna-
grand jury in the Breonna Taylor
Radical left
case
Democrats, where are they? I
decided
know.
not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police
we are
officers
actually
good,
coming up on
decent,
10
honorable
o'clock,
men
so
and
after
women.
he's done talking,
They
I'll...
risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out.
Okay, yeah.
They have to be held
As
accountable.
soon as bad apples came up, I think I'm good. All right, everybody, you have made it to the end of Step Back Tonight. We all hate ourselves a little bit more for having witnessed a little bit of that debate. Good thing we spent most of the hour just like not looking at it, because looking at it just feels like the feeling you get when you look at the Ark of the Covenant. Instead, well, I feel like everybody that I know is going to be streaming the debate, but let's find somebody to raid. So you can keep up your if anybody wants to keep following the debate, you can. Is this true? Non-compete is has nobody watching right now? No, let's Kevin Logan maybe. Gosh, who should we raid? Let's raid Irene. Why not? Can't go wrong with Irene. All right, everybody, please. This thing fucking sucks. Go eat some ice cream. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And hopefully one day things will get a little bit better the next day instead of the other way around. Take care, everybody. I'll see you on Friday.